Are we good?
You're all set, Rich.
We're all set. Thank
Yes.
you, Sharon. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, 28 June, 2023, and this is the semi-annual joint school board meeting and regular, select board regular meeting. Let's start with just introducing everybody. Rich Reed, the chair of the select board.
Freeze, vice chair.
Lindsay Costello, principal of Waterville Valley Elementary School.
Michael Pell, school board member.
Tim Smith, school board member. Mike Burgle, school board member and chair.
Mark Caboto, town manager.
Great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Mike, you wanted to make a change to the agenda?
Yeah, we have one bit of school business we need to tie up based on our last meeting, and we need to do it before June 30th. So we decided that we're gonna do it in this meeting. And
Okay.
that was, we have an overage of $106,762, $106,762 in our surplus, and we wanted to take some of this up to 100,000 for the fire alarm project. Do you guys remember this?
Yes.
Okay, so
I would do 100.
then make a motion. please.
I move we encumber $100,000.
We're going to discuss with the selectmen about CIP.
We were, that's number one on the agenda. You want to wait and do that out?
We're doing that. Yeah, I thought that was.
Okay, so let's take it with table it until.
All right, we
need to
can
make sure, I need to make sure that we.
Okay, we'll integrate it into the, and that's the first item. Is David?
He's on the phone, he will
Okay.
come down as soon.
Great, okay, great. So, apropos of our just completed discussion, the first discussion item is the CIP and financial planning. The financial planning portion of it is, school board's request for some, advice with regard to, the, saving of, excess funds and how the town does it. And we've asked Mark to explain how the town does it, give you guys an idea of how it's generally done. Okay, so do you want to do the financial planning bit first, or do you want to do the CIP first?
Simplistically, question.
Yeah, I mean, we have a fund balance all the time.
You always do, and you always have a very significant fund balance
We have about 820, 830.
or more. And the question that I have based on whatever is, in today's world as opposed to 17, 18, 20 months ago, when interest rates were de minimis. Today, interest rates are not de minimis. I looked, for example, at the NHD debt this morning, and it's 5.1+%. And the question, I've spoken to various people around the state, a lot of schools, departments, and a lot of towns use that for excess is probably the wrong word, but whatever the right word is, you know what I'm saying. They use that as their depository. Now, I was wondering if that is something that Waterville does.
Cash balances are kept either in the big PDIP or in the town checking account. We try at this point in time to utilize the PDIP as much as possible. So it's the public depositors investment pool.
And that
And
is,
that is.
I'll explain it to you.
and that's setting the high rate.
Right now, it's 5.13%. That, we talked about it previously, that I wanted to do it.
So that's great. So that's what the town does. They keep a small amount in the checking.
use it. And as I understand it, basically, whoever has responsibility for the checking account and the PDIP, basically can pick up the phone and transfer the money within 24 to 36 hours, something like that.
Do it right away.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before.
I don't know how it'll work with the business office at the FAU, but, because I don't know how the accounts are structured, but the PDIP money is very fluid. And it is basically just a repository, so it is a conglomeration of all towns, school districts, counties can participate in the PDIP in New Hampshire. And they basically, put the money, give the money to them, they do the investing. They're in sweep accounts, so that, you know, you're meeting all of the accounting standard requirements, for the security of the money, as far as being insured and all of that. So, it's a very clean system. In addition to the PDIP, the town has several other accounts that are controlled by the trustees or the library trustees and that sort of thing. And they can use the PDIP if they want, or they can
So,
do their own.
so when taxes are collected.
Yep.
Who holds that money? There's a portion of it that's town, and a portion of it that's school.
So we make payments. There's a schedule that is given to us by the school business office every year, and it has monthly payments of the school budget. And we make those payments. Okay, and those are structured around the school year and around your cash flow needs.
So the money goes in the PDIP.
Well, the money comes into the town.
Yeah.
It comes into the town account.
Mhm.
And then we move it out to the investment areas. Well, and we have a few other small investments. We could use, the treasurer can use CDs or anything else that he wants to do. But basically, we are using the PDIP because the return is pretty good.
And it's
They are-
easy, and it's always.
And it's very,
Like there's a lot in our checking account because.
So-
yeah, I mean, we have tax money that's come in, we've billed over, what, 2.7.
We've probably collected
Taxes, probably collected.
900 this week.
So Mike,
Yeah.
your origin of the question was is the cash that is brought in pre-taxation.
Yeah.
And then paid out for school expenditures. How is that cash being utilized during the time frame between it's brought in and then?
Right, so it sounds to me that the town has it in their account. It goes to the SAU business office, and from there it's dispersed to go pay bills. So the question we had at the school board meeting was, should we be,
In my view,
should we be doing something different?
in my view, my estimate, quick down and dirty. Is that right now, use 5%. Let's quick down and dirty now. 5%. $1.6 million, 800,000 every time, $300,000 more or less. More or less $15,000 worth of it.
But that's not the way I understood it.
But wait a minute, but we, the town has an interest income revenue.
I'm not,
Okay,
okay, I'm
hold
part
it.
of that.
Let me- can I finish? We have an interest revenue line
Right,
that is used to offset tax. Okay?
Right.
We pay money not based on what we collect. We pay money based on the schedule that is given to us by the SAU office based on your cash flow needs. You get 100% of your cash flow needs every month. Whether we've collected $1,
yes,
okay, so we do not collect a tax bill based on this percentage to the county and this percentage to the school
Yeah.
district and this percentage to the town. We just collect what was billed.
right,
The taxpayers of the town, because we're a one-town school district, the interest, whether we break it out that we should give you your 5% or whether we have it, it's not going to affect anything because it's going to be your revenue or it's going to be the tax.
So the point is, the retained funds
Yeah,
are managed by the town,
right.
and we get a small amount monthly. That we should not be separating out and say, oh, well, it's a small amount, let's take half of that and put that into a high yield, anything, because it's a small amount.
No,
Am I saying that
you're gonna get, if the school budget, if the
Right.
school amount of the tax rate is $1.7 million.
Yeah.
Okay, whether we collect 50% of the total taxes for the town, or whether we collect 100%, you're gonna get 1.7 million.
But we're gonna get it
You-
over time.
And you're gonna get it over, basically a 9 to 10 month
Right.
period.
Right.
Okay, because there's a couple of months when you're out of school that we don't make payments.
This
or
big
whatever.
check, I was town treasurer, so the big checks, $70,000 to $100,000.
No, I fully understand. how it
And,
works.
and so, but my point is, so you now have a surplus.
Yeah.
Okay, that is surplus from what we've already given you.
Mhm.
Your school business office, right, should invest that money. I would recommend putting it into the bid,
Mhm.
okay? Then you can get interest on it and you can use it however you want. But that's money that we've already
Right,
paid.
so I
So
think.
there's two separate.
Right, there's two sides of this. There's the money, the way I'm gonna say the way I understand it. There's the money that the town has, that they pay out monthly to the school business to go.
Right.
To go
Based
cover
upon,
our-
based upon the $1,000,007.
Based on whatever warrant,
Right,
You
based,
give
based
us-
upon $1,000,007 budget, which we have put forth.
divided across 10 months, not equally, but some have some
Yeah.
like. So the majority of that money lives in the town's
Yeah.
budget and
Yeah.
not checking account.
No.
People-
well,
It's in the-
it's a sweet account.
And from my point of view, great, let the town deal, let the town deal with that.
Right.
So that's one side,
So
so,
except,
okay,
part of our $1,000,007, when we do our budget, we also estimate what our revenues are.
mhm,
So use any number you want for estimated interest that we earn on whatever money that.
but we're not earning the interest, the town's earning the
Right
interest.
now, well, all I'm saying, and if we want to say, we don't care about that 10 or 15, whatever the number is, the interest that is going to be on the money that the town is holding for us. If we want to say, fine, we don't care about that money, let it go to the town, that's a fine decision. But that is a decision we should make because it could theoretically.
No, we don't owe that. What we owe, what the town doesn't owe the school district any. The school district determines the budget.
Right,
You just don't collect it. So
Right.
all we're doing is giving you the money that you
all right, so let me.
have.
Let me understand what you just said. You just said is that we have a budget of $1,000,007,
Correct,
$850,000 twice a year.
Yeah.
That $850,000 you collect for the school district,
that's right.
that $850,000 you hold and distribute back to basically
The
the SAU
Yeah,
as needed.
no, as the SAU directs us to.
So if.
That is a,
Okay.
we don't say,
Let me
we
finish
want
my
to pay you 100,000.
Here's my question. So if we said, if we said to the SAU, okay, what we want to do is we want to go to the town.
Mhm.
And we want to say that, okay, that $850,000 or whatever, $850,000 comes in. When it comes in, we want that to go to our account with the SAU and we will do with it as we want. We
And that is what happens.
No, he's saying lump sum.
You're right.
Lump
He
sum.
wants to take it out of that.
That's not what-
Oh, no, we're not gonna, we can't, there's no way cash flow, what, you would make us go and get tax anticipation.
I understand that.
And
So wait, I understand that. I understand how the town works. All right, I understand how the town works. All I'm saying is, there is a benefit town receives from being able to use that money and distributing it over time.
Correct.
no,
Yes,
No.
there's interest that's being accrued on school tax funds, but we don't care.
And
It's-
all I'm saying is,
Right.
all I'm saying is it exists. And if we want to sit here and say, that's fine, let
okay,
it go to the benefit of the town, I don't have a problem.
let's say that there's $20,000 in interest that we're talking about.
Pick it up.
Whatever, $20,000. Whether that's a penny on the town tax rate, or it's a penny on the school tax rate, makes no difference.
The
We're a
taxpayers.
one-town school district.
Right.
To the taxpayers.
All
Why
I'm
would,
saying
why
is
would we
we
pay you an
should understand.
extra $20,000? Take it out of our account. Write a check to the SAU, put it in the SAU account to be invested in the same program that we're using. It would be an accounting nightmare because we don't owe you that $20,000. We don't, and when I
understand.
say, I'm sorry to say we and you, but it's, the town doesn't owe the school district that interest money. That interest money is accrued and then given back to the taxpayers through our other.
It is given back to the taxpayers through the town
Rates it.
rate, not the school rate, the
And-
town rate.
And if we had 5 towns in this school district, we would have to go through this process that you're.
Water aggravation. I understand.
Okay,
All I wanted to understand, and everyone understand, is that that's the way everything works. We should understand that there's $850,000 more or less that comes into the town.
Mhm.
How the town uses it, how the town invests it. There is a benefit to the town. And if we say, God bless the town, because it is gonna decrease the town's portion. It may have a small portion effect on ours, but we don't care. That's fine. We should understand that.
and the other thing that complicates this a little bit is your budget is actually divided up between 2 different tax
Exactly.
rates.
Okay.
Part of that money actually belongs to the state of New Hampshire,
And
okay? We're collecting it
Yeah.
for the state of New Hampshire, not even for you. Then they let you use
Yeah,
that
we're
money
through.
to run the school, right?
Right.
So we're talking about an even smaller number because the local education tax rate is actually pennies, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the tax rate that's in the town report, the breakdown of the 1060,
It's about
it's
half.
like,
But yeah,
It's like half.
The
The
state
problem-
was 87 cents in 22, and the local ed was $2.10.
Yeah. so you'd have the $2.10, the other 80 cents.
all I want people to understand is there is a benefit. The town receives the benefit, which is fine with us, but the town receives, the town portion of the tax receives the benefit.
The
And,
taxpayer,
and that it is now, which it was not previously. In the old days, 18 months ago or so, it didn't matter because interest rates were diminished. It is no longer diminished when you talk about
right,
5%.
but the taxpayers are getting that benefit. Because we do not spend the interest
Mark, I
as
totally
part of the
understand.
budget.
I have people come up to me and say, Mike, how come, do you get the same question? Do you get the same question? How come,
Your crowd, so.
no, that is the question. How come that our costs per student are among the highest in the state? Yeah.
Well, I do get that.
And we're comfortable with that question. We're comfortable with that question because of the quality of our education and everything else that goes in. All right, and the difference would be diminished.
So there's 2 sides to this. So we just talked about the cash flow side of it. The other side was if we encumber this $100,000 for this fire project, that's now not gonna be sent back to the town. And you, as you suggested, would be to take that and put that into.
Right.
But I think that's a great transition into CIP.
But it is something that we know we should be doing. It's
Only-
paying out, anyway.
Only on the encumbered money.
We took that as a note and something to talk to the SAU about during our next school board meeting is if we encumber this money, if we decide to encumber the money. And
Well, we
like
already
Mark said, the overages each month, whereas that being invested by the SAU. And that's $160,000.
I'll find that out.
We'll find that.
I'll find that out.
So moving on to CIP, right? That's the question at hand now.
Mhm.
Okay. So the CIP, we're looking at the fire.
Right, so, well, just, are we all set with the financial side of that? Okay. Everything else? So we handed out our CIP. to Everybody.
And the current question for the school board is the fire alarm, $160,000 that we'd be looking to do next year. The fire alarm is at a state right now where the fire chief says it's exactly like all the other fire alarms we've got. Not necessary to change it. The SAU is saying that we really should change it because it should be addressable. And the addressable fire alarm is simply the fire alarm that will tell you what the fire is happening.
Chief's here. I cheated.
What's going on?
No, he's not.
No fires today, because rain.
Outside.
So at this point, we're not in a huge rush, but we do know the fire alarm is getting old and then that bars are going to not be replaced. Do you want to add anything? Chief, I didn't know you were here.
No, we looked at it. It is a operable system. Like you said, it is getting a little on the older side. It is a serviceable system, probably, on par with most of the other commercial properties around town. So it isn't anything that's like, oh my gosh, this is ancient. It really needs to get repaired. But I understand certainly having an addressable system. The one thing that I would like you to think of is we had talked about with an addressable system, adding a zone that potentially the race center could be added to the fire alarm panel. So that way, when there is a fire alarm, if there is a preschool session, they get the same fire alarm and they can evacuate.
In your opinion, is this something in the next? Obviously it's not here now, but 5 years?
Yeah, I would say 5 years, certainly within 5
Definitely
years,
in 10.
definitely in 10,
Okay.
but certainly I would
That's
say
where
in the
we
next
bring
5
this
years.
to, because we know that
You said even some of the things that you guys are thinking about doing, moving to a more modern system.
oh yeah, everywhere.
So that what we're seeing when I talk to people around the state and around the country. This is a pay me now or pay me in a fairly short term. And the amount we have or don't have every year, we have most years, lucky to draw on because demonstrating. We always usually wind up having for various. We've got $100,000 to pay for it this year. We thought the price was gonna drop.
He's 58, hoping.
We were hoping,
When
we
we
were
did this
hoping,
a year ago.
we were hoping the prices were gonna drop.
160.
It looks like it isn't gonna drop.
So you're looking at like putting money away in a reserve account of some sort?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have the ability to put money away in a reserve account. What we have the ability to do is to put money away this coming year. With the plans to go implement this coming year. And then if we don't implement it this coming year, we could do it again and encumber the following year.
So you can only encumber year on year, you can't put money aside.
We can't have a reserve account, per se, we haven't gone. It is somewhat good. But from my view, we don't know that we're gonna have money and I don't know what year we're gonna. This is gonna be a problem, but it's fairly short term and the money's there, so I think we should. Put it aside. I might.
Does that quote just include the alarm panel? And the actual either smokes or heats or whatever. Through there, does that include any emergency lighting or anything like that? Do you know?
Don't remember.
Okay.
I don't recall.
Just from prior inspection experience. I think the emergency, some of the emergency lighting is much older.
Mhm.
They were looking at, potentially getting replaced. If I had to choose, right now, with the directors, if that's not included in that particular quote. Just some food for thought.
So. In the field of fire alarms, or I know from my experience with the mountain, the prices have just skyrocketed, tripled to where they were.
They have, they
Um,
really have.
Is there any information from you know, your side of the story? That these prices are going to deflate or these are here to stay or?
From-
These prices are incredibly high.
Yeah, they're incredibly high. I was just talking with a sprinkler guy today and because the lack of diversity with businesses that are doing this type of work and the demand has been so high ever since COVID. The prices have gone up and they are not changing. The demand is still there. These guys are backed up, 3-4 months now for jobs that need to get
Yeah.
done and they just. They
You
just-
can't even get quotes.
They can't even, you can't even get to them.
Is the alternative to lower the tax rate this year?
Right,
Yes.
so there's $106,762 of surplus that we have. Until tomorrow or until
Until Friday.
to do it. And typically we lower the tax rate, but we have this fire panel thing hanging over our head.
And we postponed it every year. And we'll postpone it, but we were waiting for the price to drop. Doesn't look like it's going to, and
Well, we postponed it because we got funding of $58,000.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to go buy it, it went to $160,000. So we have enough funding to do it. when it happens.
Could you encumber 100 and then put another 60 in next year budget?
We know
that's the plan.
that our budget for next year is because of the.
Because of the high students, we budget more students, more private. So that the $20,000 per, so there's yours at 60. So if we encumbered this 100, we think we could cover it in next year's budget.
That's the plan.
Like the town is looking at 1.4 million roughly for next year's CIP.
Well, that's what's in there.
What's in there now? We haven't looked at it since like last year. Really,
So adding that kind of regard, we won't do that.
Well, but you wouldn't be, you would have to include it.
Right.
Well, you would need a warrant article for the 100,000. That you don't have, well, because you don't have authorization to spend. You have the money from the tuition students, the savings.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't have authorization to use the $100,000 that's in your surplus balance. You could do $100,000 warrant article and fund it from surplus.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't
Oh, okay.
hit the tax rate.
Correct.
Okay,
Not
and then you
here.
just combine it with the money that's left over in the budget.
But that would
Right.
delay it a year, because that warrant article would be,
That would have to be in the.
so that hence. Nothing's happening next year.
Well-
Nothing happens July 1st.
But nothing is gonna happen on that fire. I mean,
So if we need to use.
yeah, you would
If
be
we-
taking $160,000 out of your current budget if you don't wait until next March. If you wanna do this right now and get it under contract, you would have to use your current budget to fund all 160.
The current budget being.
The one July 1 budget that just got passed in March.
Right, but we have this $106,000. Right, surplus.
Right, but what that's gonna do is it's gonna give you a funding source
Mhm.
for next March. It is not money,
Right,
you
so-
could, if you could get them to break the contract down in the next 2 days into 100,000. And I'm just saying,
60,000.
and then
You
60,000,
can pay for it.
you could take your 100,000 now, instead of putting it in the surplus, put it towards that
I think-
$100,000 contract.
So here's the motion that they want us to make. I make a motion to issue a PO for phase 1 of the fire alarm replacement in the amount of
$100,000.
So we're not encumbering it,
We're actually paying.
You're paying for.
That rate, that takes care of it.
Right, as long as you get that contract signed by Friday.
Rather than issuing surplus.
Rather than issuing a surplus, because once you put it into surplus, you gotta appropriate.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't have any tax rate implications for the town, but you gotta wait until March.
Right.
That's the-
Don't they need authorization for 100,000?
No, the 100,000 was authorized already. It's already in the budget that they're currently in, the budget that ends on.
Other uses.
And then they have the same right that you do, it's a bottom line budget, so they can spend all.
I'll still,
And then you would do a phase two budget, which you could do at your July or August board meeting. You could do a phase two contract for the other 60,000, knowing that you're gonna have a savings out of your.
That's what.
that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's
So-
what this is.
So then the question comes back to this group of, is this the time?
Right, that's really the question.
Well, there really is no good time.
Our CIP, our
Well, it's, yeah, 1.4, next, the year after that's 3.1, then it drops back down to 1.4. And then we're gonna start hitting the
And then we
tax
have
rate for the,
repayments
Yeah.
starting in 26.
for
so.
the,
But that CIP that's 3 years out,
But so
that's a long.
my question on 3.4, 3.1s, how are these gonna be funded? Are these going to be bonds?
We don't know.
we haven't gone through, that's something we decided.
That's a year to year.
Right, if they are,
Right.
if there's an impact, but it's not a huge impact, because it's gonna be $30,000, not 1.4.
Mike, remember, you got $2 per thousand coming starting in
I know,
26.
that's what I was trying
Minimum.
to say.
Min-
And this is the pretty much a low point, quote unquote, and with regard to low. But of that 1.4, half of that approximately is for dredging. If we go forward with the dredging,
yeah,
right, we're still waiting for
The
the,
engineers working
working on that, so that'll definitely be bonded.
Mhm.
And this 300,000 on the ambulance repair replacement. That'll probably be bonded
Is
too.
the SAU qualified to be recommending that you have to do this addressable system? I mean, they're the ones, you know.
They're the ones driving.
The town officials are saying that the system's okay.
Well,
The SAU was saying you need to replace it, but
They recommend, it's the.
then are they qualified to recommend that?
Yeah, they qualify to recommend that they have, you know, they look through the building, they identify their highest, greatest concern. This one is on the CIP schedule, it's been on the CIP schedule since I've been on the school board. And they said it's time to either fire alarm being over, I'm not sure if I can find the replacement panels. Then that's when we consulted and found out, it's, you know, it is.
it's okay for now, this is the pay me now or pay me soon.
Yeah, it's the current NFPA standard is an addressable system. But when it was put in, it wasn't a requirement, right? So based on the age.
So you need to go forward with this one now, I still thought you're still talking, but it's another year.
So we're in a situation where we could fund it now. Or we don't do it now, and we revisit this in 2 or 3 years. But
Or
that's
we revisit it next year on a warrant article that we put through the school board.
Yeah.
And we
For the
say,
whole-
For the whole thing, we need to fund a fire alarm.
Except then we have to put it as a, out as a warrant.
We put it out as a warrant
This where,
article.
this way, it's, I don't say it's invisible.
And then you could still use 100,000 if you put in, reserve right now.
No, because we'd be, the 100,000 would be actually paying a PO, is my understanding.
Right.
We'll be identifying it as an expense.
Your warrant article would only have to be $60,000.
Correct. Right, to pay the second half.
To pay
Pay the second half. Right.
Or
So the options are lower the tax rate with hundreds of $6,000. Have the $60,000 overs that we have next year and make that, you know, some part of it, and then have a warrant article for the next year, have a warrant article for the whole thing. Make the cleanest thing would be to lower the tax rate, another warrant article, have that warrant article happen, we just go on our merry way, you know, our budget, not doing anything.
Mhm.
Any move.
I would lean towards that. To be more clear with the town, and we have 2 years that we've identified where the town doesn't have extreme CIP.
Yeah.
Over the 24, 25, and 26, 27, where those would be the years where we would propose that,
You look at where they are on this year.
And the,
Well, we also don't know what that means. If we make over $70,000.
That's just,
That makes a lot.
I still think that's to do, have an entryway, so close it off. I think that's what.
Yeah, that is also something.
I feel better with putting this in with this.
160 grand.
now, you can put $160,000 warrant article, you would have to put $160,000 warrant article in, but you can encumber the 100,000. You're gonna get 5% on that money for the year, and you're going to be able to have most of the funding of the 160 for your warrant article come from that reserve. So you don't have to raise it twice, because if we give them, well, no, wait, because if you give it back. Give it back, to lower the tax rate, then you're gonna tack it on the next tax rate.
Yeah.
Why don't you put it in the reserve, make the interest, and then you can have $105,000 or $110,000 to.
Pennies on the town, I hate to say it. What's
Mike, every penny is going to count in the next, no, we
Yeah, I
need
agree.
to all be thinking
Right.
about those pennies flying.
When you say that encumber, what's the timeline that we need to encumber this by?
today,
Well, by, right,
That's a different motion.
it's different motions, not this.
So, yeah,
it's not,
Just,
we need to confer with Dan.
No, this was just, Pam wasn't here.
Yeah.
This is what we talked about at the last school board meeting, so she had given me the language if we wanted to move
This,
forward.
so this is specifically to, do phase one of the
I
fire.
got that. I didn't know I got that.
The encumbering is just to encumber $100,000 into next year's budget for unforeseen yada yada.
a
whatever.
building improvement.
Building, it doesn't have to be specific,
Okay.
and then it's,
Is that even put that through a warrant?
Yeah.
If your boiler blows up or something,
Right.
you've got $100,000 to address that immediate problem.
Yeah.
So you're creating a little bit of
Okay, that's.
a little bit of a.
So if that does happen, say the boiler blows
Yeah.
up and we need to use that $100,000, do we need a warrant article?
No, you would just
So
use
why
it.
do we need to use a warrant article to address the fire alarm? That's where my head, that's my.
Because you're you're voting on another fiscal year. So you haven't used that money. So within this coming school year, starting in 1 July, if you've encumbered money from the prior year for a purpose, you can use it, is my understanding.
Yes,
You can use it during that year
for that purpose.
for that purpose
Right.
that you encumbered.
Okay.
But the March vote is actually for your next July
following year.
budget. It's another year, and I don't, maybe you could encumber it again.
Let me ask you a question.
I'd make it cleaner to just say that you're gonna take it out of the encumbered funds.
Let me ask a question.
Either way.
This stuff is all double brief, right? But let's suppose we encumber this for $100,000 for capital improvement. Which may include that, may include more, whatever.
Yeah.
Come January, we determine that we're gonna have an excess of $100,000, pick them up.
Mhm.
Can we not take $60,000 of that? And add it to $100,000?
I would ask Dan, but I think you could,
That's what I spoke to Dan.
as long as you did it in that fiscal, in. the
Yes,
next
so in other
fiscal
words,
year.
if we put encumber $100 now, and in January, we say we have $100, pick a number.
Sure, whatever.
And we could take 60 of that 100 and pay for the fire alarm at that time.
That's, yes, I mean, you'd have.
That's my
check with Dan
understanding.
and your attorney.
I can talk to Dan.
So the recommendation that I'm hearing is because this is money that's already been allocated. And because next year is gonna be a higher tax year because we're starting with the bigger projects. We should not be saying, well, let's give this money back this year. And let's go ask for the money next year, because there's already gonna be a big ask being done by the town.
Right, that's my
So
view.
we're not changing the tax rate this
Right.
fall, we're gonna end up
'Cause we're pretty,
Using the encumbered funds.
we're pretty certain about that 60.
We're setting aside for these.
Set inside that.
So
we'll have to do
Now
this
we're
one.
looking for a motion to encumber
I
$100,000
move,
for building improvements.
I move we encumber $100,000 for building improvements.
Second.
Sharon,
Mike, you said $100,000 to be encumbered for building improvements in Tim second.
Yes,
that's what we needed to get in the notes.
right, Michael Pell,
Well, look,
I can say it
discussion on
faster than I
this.
can write it.
I know. So we all good?
Yeah.
Okay, all
I,
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great.
thank you.
Plus, I think your SWIFT is gonna go up next year,
Right.
right? It's gonna double.
You're gonna get additional SWEP money
Yeah,
in this new state budget.
yeah.
No,
The requirement is going up.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna have a
Still-
big, but
Still
it's,
lower.
but what that's gonna do is lower your local education.
It's playing between the numbers.
As far as the update, we can go right into these education funding update.
yeah, we can. Let's do that.
No, wait,
Okay, so did we do B yet? No.
oh, no.
Update on building improvements.
That's your building improvement.
Right, so we did, so we covered all
Yeah.
that. Okay, so now we can go to.
Yeah, so, the state budget passed. The state budget passed with additional funding for education. The majority of that's going to go to the non.
We're not getting any.
Communities. We may get some additional, it'll be a small. The SWEPT number is going to increase. Taxpayers are going to see a tax rate in SWEPT that goes back to the to the 2021 level, 630.
Right, so.
So it's gonna go back around $2 per thousand. And, but that will just make your local education.
It's
better.
fun.
So that's not a big.
Hopefully.
We don't see any. There is nothing legislatively that was discussed. That had any return to us becoming a donor town again. In the next 2 years, because it's a biennial budget. There were a couple of bills that were retained for study committee. Neither one has any backing from the House or the Senate. They do mention a return to donor towns, but none of them have any political backing at this point in time. So
Court cases.
the 2 court cases, we're in a wait and see, and we don't know what, but we are involved in one of those as the coalition. And I think either one of them, no matter how they turn out, will be appealed to the Supreme Court. So, our assessment right now is we have no.
Well,
No, I mean.
and probably no short term, meaning a year or two impact.
Yeah, I think
Appeals.
the next 2 to 4 years,
Yeah.
there's really no big threat. I mean, that can all change, but
In terms of becoming.
in
go back to
terms of
down-
going
down-
back to a donor community, and I think that, the Rand case is the one that would potentially has the most, of us going back to SWEP. But that's the one we're involved in and will immediately appeal to the Supreme Court, so,
A minimum of two.
as a coalition, so, I don't see anything. Minimum of 2 years, probably the next.
Yeah.
2 to 4 years, so. It was an amazing budget season because
Oh, yeah.
it was almost unanimous in approval of the budget in both the House and the Senate.
Maybe.
And there was a 2-seat majority. And everybody thought the state would be shutting down this week. But it was passed on the first vote, which is the first time it passed on the first vote in like 20 years.
Wow.
And
And
the House even, they just took what the Senate.
in the House just, there was no conference committee,
No
there
conference
was nothing.
Yes, there was one line.
So it was, the governor signed it. Everybody's happy and
They
we're
actually,
certainly very.
they actually did their job.
But yeah, it was great. So nothing, no big threats, but we want to remain in the, I mean, my recommendation would be the town stay in the coalition. And we continue to watch it. We have meetings every month and we'll let you know if anything changes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is building use discussion. I think this sprung from the school board's decision to relook at the policy, the rec department use or town use of the primarily the gymnasium, in particular during school hours. So I think we provided you with some information about how the recreation department keeps track of the various users of the programs. I guess we're just waiting to see what you
I
guys.
think this, the two-prong question. Question number one is. General use of the gym during school hours. Question number two is. Are we having? Democrat and Republican primaries this year?
January, well, not the January. probably,
January.
late January.
Alright, so we're going to have. At least a Republican. And I have no idea if that was them.
We're gonna have.
We'll have four elections.
In 23,
Right.
I mean 24.
20.
Yeah,
So Patty's nodding.
I'm worried about November,
Yeah.
I'm worried about January, February.
But there'll just be one.
It's just one meeting.
My understanding, my understanding is the Democrats wanted to have South Carolina first and our constitution said, but
Right. But I think
We still only have.
the state's
one.
only gonna do one, right,
Good.
Patty? I mean, doesn't
Right.
matter the parties.
doesn't matter. Either way, we're gonna have a primary or two, we'll make it one. In January, February, Pat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be January, it
So.
could be December.
I think we have two things. A is going to be general use of the unit. And B is what's called election use. I don't think those are necessarily the same thing.
What do you see as differentiating between them?
What do I see differentiating them?
Like, I'm not sure we talked about.
Well, let's say that the people want to come in and play basketball. They can't play basketball at the convention center. They can play basketball at the gym.
Doing like groups, that was a conference.
So the thing that initiated this discussion is that
There's a rental of the gymnasium.
the rental of gymnasiums, in this case, it was by the Warriors. Nice people, that's not the point, who just came in and played basketball during school hours. We have a significant issue with that, with all of the issues that are going on. This is Waterville, we're a state community, it's a state building. We've heard that all over the country. Our job is to make absolutely sure, the absolute best of our ability, all of our ability, all of us care. That the children of Waterville are safe.
Oh, I was one of the first voices to speak up and say, no, it wasn't cute that Annie Schwartz, the third grader, was the first person to shout at the governor and his entourage are in the building. That was in kindergarten.
No,
I'm very much on that same page, but the building was hardened. What's changed?
We are now using the multi-purpose room as a classroom.
Well,
But that door is hardened as well.
That door is hardened, but then the bathrooms
bathroom is not.
becomes the
Hardened
hardened,
between the rec bathroom?
they're using the rec bathrooms.
Oh,
When that room is in use, they're using the rec bathrooms.
and there's no adult going with them with the fob to get back in, that door is left unlocked.
Don't know the details
So if you leave the cafeteria area, and that door is closed, you go to the bathrooms, you have to have a fob to come back. in.
Right,
Otherwise you're locked out of getting back into the school.
right.
So the kids knock on the window to get back in, or should they just?
So we don't let the kids go out, so when the Warriors were there, or when there was cycling, we fully closed off that door
our middle school students just used our other bathroom.
Sure,
So it was a locked door, so nobody could enter the school.
right.
'Cause
Which
that's
was what I
designed.
thought after our last joint meeting, I thought that's what the decision was to let you and Brooke work that out, scheduling. So that we still maintain the locked door between the school and the direct use of the facilities. That's what I came out of that meeting, under the impression we were going to do that. Was that not right?
So that you had.
So I was under that
Yeah.
impression also, with cycling, and Brooke and I did talk about the Warriors. And then, realized that I needed to go to the school board first,
Okay,
for affirming like that.
okay.
So from the school board standpoint, it was our impression that we were talking about cycling, we were talking about 5 to 10 individuals trying to use the gym for
Sure.
some sort of an athletic program, rental of
Yeah.
outside individuals there. We have no idea who's coming into the gym. Like, we
Especially no water.
Children, and the children are not used to having locked down part of the doors. That they can easily push open and walk out of. Not to mention that they're used to having a quiet area in and around the school to be able to recreate. I go to the school and eat day of the week, and see kids out there going around, doing their kid thing.
I'm just processing, because, you know, my ex-husband was very much involved in designing that hardening, like, so as I'm coming up with thinking, well, it is hardened. So I'm just.
I understand, my issue is, and I understand how hard the school is. I understand what the windows are, I understand the door, I understand all of them. Because I'm a nerdy person. I've read some of the things and some of the other things that have happened. And I read them and I said, they had a resource person, armed resource person there. And it didn't work. They had locked doors. And it didn't work. All because of stupid things. Somebody went out and had a smoke and didn't close the door. And therefore the gunman did it. That's not gonna happen in our area if you want it. But that's beside the point. And I'm sitting here saying, we should absolutely minimize the amount of people that are in that building, especially during now while we're using the multipurpose room as a classroom. We should absolutely minimize the amount of people that are in that building while schools.
So sorry, just to back up and clarify, so that cafeteria door, is that stopped open for kids to use the bathroom?
When it's just being used by these people. That door is kept open,
So the school is not hardened.
not by that door, but it is
Right.
because.
They added
Work
the
with
door.
Brooke, so the door going into the gym is hard.
So the door
I
to the
see,
gym is
gotcha.
locked,
Okay,
and the door that goes into the bathroom area at the end of that hallway is locked.
Okay,
So that's still all secure.
okay.
I'm just ultra cautious. All of us.
So. Let's move forward. So Tim brought up 5 people, 10 people using cycling in the morning.
Bro.
So is that an issue or not an issue?
Don't they cycle before school? Are they cycling during school? Yeah, that was 6:30.
No, that's boot camp.
Oh, that's boot camp.
This is why we were trying to find, and the origin of these questions is we were trying to find some sort of solution that we would be able to.
That helps the town. So
Helps
the
town.
town can be used by what we consider to be known people.
Yeah.
And so hence we asked for to come up with this, how does somebody become a known person in the database? And that's the sheet here and it basically means everybody.
Yeah, I would not use it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, because I'm just gonna go enough bad, so you go first.
Oh, I was gonna say that I've certainly would not recommend that database as any type of security
Nope.
vetting.
We were hoping.
We saw that,
We were hoping it was only gonna be people that live here.
and it's not.
It's not.
No, of course.
Any online desktop anywhere, kind of makes it, that's not a no.
No offense to Brock, I understand, yeah,
What about the rest, with any town record?
I understand.
Right.
We were hoping.
Yeah.
Are there additional hardening things that we can do that would make you happy? I mean, it's already hot.
You're asking, I'm not a contractor, I'm not a builder. All right, I don't know the answer to that. I only know what I see and what I hear. And if you told me that you're gonna, have only. I shouldn't use residents, maybe I can use stakeholders, is a better word. But I would prefer the word resident. If you would say only residents of the valley are going to be allowed people, or whatever the right terminology is, I might feel more comfortable. You tell me that as it stands now, this can be almost anybody off the street. If that's the case, then I'm gonna say no to everything. I don't think that's unreasonable.
So you would have our program, back residents, including people who live here full time or taxpayers.
Well, those are two different things.
Right, that's what I'm trying to.
My brothers would be residents. I think people might have a problem with that, so that I might be able to talk into taxpayers.
Taxpayer, what you would have us.
I use the word stakeholders.
Record department, say program, say spinning that only residents could use, but a taxpayer who's not a resident could not use, I mean, you see. the different-
No, I mean, part of me has a problem with that as well. I keep using the word stakeholder instead of taxpayer, same word. I understand that's an issue, all right? I could probably be convinced to taxpayers / stakeholders / residents. The reason I can always go back to residents is, and I could be wrong. You know, you have to talk all the time. You can tell me I'm wrong. I think people know the residents better than they do taxpayers. I mean, we have about 700, more or less. About 700. We have about 700 residents. If you took all of the taxpayers, that number is close to 3,000. If you took everybody in.
But what about their, relatives?
I
No,
understand.
I know, we're just trying to find out.
So we have
Go
3
forward.
minutes left,
I understand.
so I think we
Can
have
I
to
just
table this.
add a couple things if we only have 3 minutes as the moderator? I'm here because elections, my interest is in the elections. So by what you're saying, all the people that vote are residents, so they should be allowed in, so they can be allowed in during elections. My concern about that is parking and kids coming out of school. And
I have a
people
huge
coming
problem
in.
with that.
It's more the parking that I'm concerned about than the getting in and out, but
Yes.
what I would propose is that election days, SAU wide, because we're not the only town that's concerned about elections in the school. Can we have it so that it's an in-service day for the teachers or a field trip day for the kids or
We
something?
have a regular, important, we have a regular school day. We go and we vote at the school, and the school is in session. The buses were arriving when I arrived to vote early on election morning. We have no problem in Thornton, and they have thousands of votes.
I think their parking lot, again, my
The
only,
parking lot is very limited for the size
there?
of the town and the school.
yeah.
It's very, they have people parking on 175.
Yeah.
But anyway, if the school board doesn't want the elections there because of the students, can we look at having the students away from the school on elections?
I mean, it's up to us, because we're our own school board to look at the calendar for, not this coming school year, but the following school year and.
This is why I said, Patty, that this is several. Not one. The election issue is one issue. And that is under a different control situation than I think allowing the Warriors in to play basketball. I think that's entirely.
So I'm gonna call this and say, we're gonna have to deal with it, right? Because we're out of time, this is. Needs to have some thought. And it needs to get us to the agreement.
Yeah, I would simply say, I mean, to echo, I thought similarly. That if you're gonna try to limit rec department programs to taxpayers, residents, those are the voters as well. So how do you?
No, I fully understand.
But we can,
Can we get a motion to dismiss this point? School is like.
does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up? I'll make the motion, so it's your the joint school board select board meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. We'll do it again, in the fall, right?
Anytime you like.
Well, no, we may have to do it.